Hey guys, thank you so much for watching our funny divorce video. We're really glad that you enjoyed it. However, there is just a couple things I would like to explain to you. It's really easy for me to make jokes about things because I am super open-minded and Chris and I are both very silly. We had fun with it, and that was the purpose of the video. Many of you have reached out to us to tell us that it's our best video yet, and that's awesome. We're glad that we're entertaining you. Some of you have expressed that you want to know the real reason why Chris and I got divorced. It's time for us to tell you the truth. We decided to start this vlog to let you all into our personal lives. So we're gonna do just that. But before we get started, I just wanted to take a moment to kind of explain my personality, because I don't think a lot of you truly know how I really am. I might seem like just this happy, carefree, optimistic, hippie-like type of person, which is pretty spot on. But what you might not understand is that I am super impulsive. I do things without thinking, I speak without thinking, I have no filter. I'm wicked obnoxious, I'm super sarcastic, I'm actually really anxious as well. So sometimes a good way of me dealing with how anxious I'm feeling is to crack a joke. I'm super opinionated and I put it all out there, I don't hold back.
In the video, we were just poking fun at each other, over-exaggerating, and just trying to make it fun.
Most of those things absolutely happened, but they have like nothing to do with why we really got divorced.
Not at all.
I just want to make it known that I care about Chris very, very much, and he is a super awesome human being.
Super awesome.
And he too can be stubborn, optimistic, a little bit impulsive.
Just a little bit.
Not as much as me. But he's also open-minded and he's kind of hippie-like in that respect. We call ourselves like half hippies because we're into the music and the mentality, but not the nonsense. Because of that, it's been a blessing to be able to be in this house together, sharing everything every single day, getting along, and making this blended family work. So that's a two-way street, you know? It works because Chris and I both work together to make it work.
The last thing we want is for the kids to be uncomfortable in any way.
It's not a traditional situation, but it works for us and everybody is happy. We respect each other very much. We don't really need to explain ourselves for that video. It was all in good fun. But I think we owe it to you to finally just give you the real story. So let's get started.
Got a few minutes?
Let's take it all the way back to November of 2010. I was living in the Metro West area of Massachusetts, and Chris was running a movie theater out there, and the two of us just happened to cross paths at an after party on November 6th for a Halloween party. I was a vampire in a haunt that year, and we had a cast party in November because we were working on Halloween. I didn't want to go. At that point, I was so done with men, and I was stood up that night, and I told my best friend I just wasn't going, and he wouldn't take that for an answer. So I went, and it was really boring, and it was full of people that I didn't know, and then I got to know them, and they were really funny. However, I just wasn't really having fun.
I didn't have a costume. I was invited at the last minute, so I figured, why not?
From the moment that I met Chris, I was just kind of excited about how nice and open he was. He liked music and he had really great answers to questions. I remember one of the first thing I asked him was, how old are you? And he said 28, and I'm like, that's too young for me. He said, good, because I'm 38. So right away, I just liked his personality, and it was just way too easy.
She was a little crazy, but I liked her, and I didn't want to let her slip away.
We fell in love so fast, and it was just so comfortable. Everything was so right. So around Christmas time, like a month later, before Christmas, we're shopping, and I was gonna look for a TV for my apartment that I was living in, and he was like,
Hey, don't buy a TV. I got one waiting for you in Connecticut.
I said, I'm not going to move into Connecticut with you.
1 month later, I helped her move in.
Chris took in both us girls, our dog, and our cat. And it was just him and his cat in this big, beautiful house. It was awesome. And nobody expected it to work out. 1 month later, we got married. So we got married after just being together for 2 months.
We got married right here in my kitchen for $100, and only 3 people knew about it.
We just wanted to be together. We were both married once before, and we didn't want a wedding. And it was awesome. We were so happy. The first year we spent just kind of cuddling and not getting much done and just having fun. We didn't fight. We never disagreed on anything. We had so much fun. We went on a honeymoon in Hawaii, which was amazing. And we saw so many places where they filmed Lost. We really have to do, Chris, we have to do a video about that.
We have to go back.
We have to go back. Anyway, sorry, I get sidetracked anytime I think about Lost or Hawaii. I'm like, where was I? We started talking about having a family. So we got pregnant about 4 months after we started talking about it, and we miscarried, and that was pretty devastating, but we just tried again.
All right, all right, all right.
And 4 months later, we were pregnant with Lucas. I was a little sick at night, but I didn't mind it as much as I do right now. It was a beautiful pregnancy, minus the gestational diabetes and him being so ginormously big that we named him Lucas Thor. The delivery was perfect. Breastfeeding him and practicing attachment parenting and being a stay-at-home mom that whole first year was incredible. And Chris and I had no problems. Everything was good. I think he was a little tired, but everything was awesome. No problems. Then Lucas's second year, I want to say that things got just a little bit stressful. We weren't fighting or anything. Things were just a little bit stressful with Chris's work schedule and Lucas not sleeping well and me kind of wondering if I should go back to school or if I should work. So I decided to go back to school.
Then we decided to try for another child.
We started trying and then I was like, okay, never mind. I don't want to have another baby.
Too late. She was already pregnant.
We had a little bit of stress on the relationship, but at that point we were still okay. Going back to school for me was awesome. So being pregnant, I kind of had to take another break from school, so I was kind of upset about that. I also wasn't working again, so I was upset about that too. I really like being out in the community and I like getting out of the house.
I was excited to have a little girl, and I didn't think there was anything wrong with our relationship at that point.
Joanna came and I got a little bit happier, but I was still kind of fighting with myself internally. And I think that's when things started to shift in the home. Chris lost even more sleep and his disability was starting to act up and his neurological symptoms were kicking in like more severely.
No matter what I did or what medicine I tried, nothing was making me feel any better.
And his work stress was so high and he was falling asleep driving to work, falling asleep driving home from work. He was sore all the time and I think it made him grumpy.
I didn't know at first I was becoming more grumpy until Lindsay said something to me about it, and I really tried to not be so agitated all the time, but I really couldn't help it. I was just miserable.
Totally understandably. But I think we just, like at that point, the romance just kind of started fizzling out. And we just became this power team of how do we get through the day with our kids and the things that we have to get through and just, let's just do it. And we started bickering a little bit, but it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't terrible. After Joanna was born, Lucas was diagnosed with chronic granulomatous disease. And that was when she was just, 3 months old maybe. It was awful. We had no idea if she had it too. We had no idea how severe Lucas's case was. We were thinking he needed a bone marrow transplant, he could die. We were worried that Joanna had it too and that, we make bad babies and it tore us apart internally. We hung on to each other, we clung to each other, we got through it. So it was like we really bonded in like a survival mode kind of way and became even closer as friends.
I didn't really notice the romance was gone We had babies, we were tired. I just figured we could get through anything.
We didn't make time for ourselves and our relationship too often, and Chris never really noticed a problem, and I didn't either. I think I just slowly fell out of love with him, still love him deeply and care for him so much, but that spark was gone for me. And I didn't quite realize it at the time, but that's when it was happening.
Constantly worrying about Lucas's disease put a lot of weight on us, and I did notice some distance, but I thought it would pass.
I wanted to find time to do everything. I wanted to make time for music and parenting and school and work and acting and myself, and I overwhelmed myself. And I just needed it all to stop, and I needed a break. I needed something. And somewhere something had to give. And for me, I think that was my marriage. Something was just missing for me, and I felt so guilty for feeling that way, and I think I just ignored it for months. Maybe even a year. Maybe a little longer. Finally, I just put myself in school again, put myself into work again, started making time for music, started mingling a little bit, started just doing things for myself. And I think that independence gave me clarity. And that's when I realized that I needed to make a change. So I'm the one that initiated the divorce.
I wasn't expecting a divorce at all.
At first, I was just kind of very quiet about it. We didn't really talk to our friends or family. And I wasn't really sure why. There wasn't anybody else at that point. There wasn't a good enough reason other than I was just like emotionally detached. Once I asked Chris for the divorce and if we could stay living together, I decided that I needed space. I needed to find who I was. So when we got divorced, it was a completely amicable situation with nothing to contest. I chose to have my kids stay here in Connecticut primarily. So Chris had like residential custody, but at the same time, he can't be alone with the kids. So either me or Rachel or Chris's mom are always here around the clock with him. But I did take, I want to say like a good 4 or 5 days and had like a momcation, and I stayed at my mom's house and I made myself a room and traveled back and forth, and I just really, it was a pleasure to have that space so I could just like figure out what it was that I wanted. And I really didn't know. There were questions of even wondering like, am I gay? Am I never gonna find love again? You know, are Chris and I gonna get back together? Will I be alone forever? Then I started playing open mic night in Worcester again and playing guitar, singing, writing, feeling alive. I almost think that this was a situation of karma. I think because I was so honest with Chris and because I didn't lie to him, that the universe presented Mike to me. And things with Mike and I were, like, it seemed fast, but for us it was like a slow progression. And we got to know each other very slowly, and nothing felt wrong. It was just all right. And it was like a huge spark, a huge flame. And I'm very grateful for that. But I felt guilty, and I felt like maybe I shouldn't have that.
At first, the divorce was really hard for me. Of course, I wanted Lindsay to be happy, but I wanted her to be happy with me. Hearing about Mike so soon really hurt me, but I am really glad that she was honest with me. If she wasn't, I would not have been able to get through things as quickly as I did. More than anything, I didn't want to lose my best friend. While the divorce was hard for me, the distance between Lindsay and the kids was even harder for her.
Even though I was with my kids during the day, not being here with them in the same house it caused like a complete breakdown inside my heart and my mind. As a mother, like I felt like I left my kids, but I didn't leave my kids. And that's another thing that I just want to make clear. Things were just really difficult, really crazy, really intense. But everything just kind of smoothed itself out over the months to come. I think Chris and I both went through a grieving process and a healing process, and it was really, really hard, but it ended up being great.
I like having Lindsay around. I need the help and the kids need their mom.
Because of how much we truly care about each other and how much we love our children and how much we respect each other, we are able to have a beautiful life as a blended family together now.
When I met Mike, I was really annoyed because I wanted to not like him, but he was so nice, it was hard to not like him.
And we will continue to strive to be the best parents and friends that we can be every day going forward for as long as we both shall live.
Sometimes you gotta make the best out of a bad situation. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Subscribe to our channel.